What do you command them to do?
Fat.
Oh, no.
Oh. You know, it's all about setting the tone in the new year, Matt. About setting the tone,
I can
declaring your
change it.
intention.
I can change it. I can do something
No.
else.
Players make the creative choices they wish. I'm not going to deny that. Do you wish to command them to fap? It lasts for a round.
6 seconds.
So does mine.
Hello again. Today we're going to be talking about Critical Role Campaign 3. Critical Role, if you don't know, is basically a live show, or used to be live. It's a show where a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons & Dragons. It's very, very popular, and for good reason, because it is a really good show. It is an extremely good example of what you can do with a TTRPG. It can't be understated what this show did for TTRPGs. Like, it really did showcase to the world this whole, like, realm of experience that you can only get from a TTRPG. Now, they certainly weren't the first people in the world to live stream their own D&D game, but they were the first to take off to this, like, insane degree. I started with Campaign 1, and I really, really liked it, and then Campaign 2 took me a little bit to get into, but then I really, really liked it, and then I watched all of Campaign 3. I have some opinions, but no, it was good. I still had a lot of fun with Campaign 3. Like, I still think it was overall very good, but I do have a couple little itty-bitty, teeny-weeny, tiny-whiny little issues with it. Now, it's important to remember, this show is free. You are not entitled to a perfect viewing experience when you paid $0 to watch it. However, this show does make a shit ton of money when it comes to Twitch subs and donations and all that crap. And you know, I was subscribed to their Twitch channel at one point, so I have paid money to watch the show for about 1 month, which now entitles me to criticize the shit out of it unrelentingly, so let's go. No, not actually. We're not going to be a dick. We're going to be fair. I'm a very fair dragon. By the way, spoiler warning, I'm going to be talking about the ending of Campaign 3 and everything in between, so spoiler warning, you've been warned. If you don't want to get spoiled, it's time to fuck off. So to kind of simplify the whole thing, all 3 campaigns of Critical Role have a pretty decent mixture of funny haha and this is serious. There's the funny stuff and there's the serious stuff. I think all of them easily achieve the funny side of the equation, and I actually think Campaign 3 was slightly funnier than average than the others were, just ever so slightly, but I think that the serious side of Campaign 3 was just not as good as the previous 2. Now, there's multiple things that contributed to this. The pacing feels a lot slower than the other campaigns, like it really does, especially at the beginning. It's like, oh my god, we're still in the starting city. It's episode 17 and we haven't left the starting city yet. My very first reaction to the first episode of Campaign 3 was actually disappointment, because 3 of the characters that I was waiting for the reveal of weren't even new. They were just characters that they'd already played back in Exandria Unlimited, which I didn't watch and had no interest in watching. The previous Critical Role side content, before Exandria Unlimited, was completely not necessary to understand the campaigns at all. It was basically, may as well have been non-canon. But Exandria Unlimited is. Like, if you do not watch Exandria Unlimited, you're going to be very slowly kind of sort of piecing together shit about these 3 player characters. But the people who actually watched Exandria Unlimited are going to be a lot more invested in these characters because they actually know what the hell they're talking about when they reference shit. If you didn't watch it, you're like, Additionally, the events and the characters in Campaign 1 and 2 are actually very important to this campaign. Personally, because I actually watched both of those campaigns beforehand, I really liked that. I really liked how there was this epic culmination of like all 3 of them working together. Like, that shit was really fucking cool to me. It was really fucking cool. But I gotta admit, if I didn't watch Campaign 1 and 2, I probably would have been like, who the fuck are these people and why do I care? Thankfully, most of Bell's Hells were very entertaining. Like, I really like Fern as a character, and I really like Dorian as a character, and I really like the other actually new player characters, like loved Laudna from episode 1. I liked Ashton. I know some other people didn't, for some reason. I don't really know why. I liked FCG. Chetney is fucking hilarious. There's even an old animation I made on this YouTube channel of Dorian and Chetney that I never finished, but, you know, I like these characters. They're fun characters. They're easy to have fun with, but again, they're not that easy to get invested in. And then we have Imogen, who is almost more of a plot device than a character. Like, she is so unbelievably important to the plot, like 50 times more important than any of the other characters. Like, she's so integral to the main story. That's all she kind of is. She doesn't really have a huge character outside of her role in the plot. And then Orym is like the result of Liam feeling that he had too much spotlight in the previous 2 campaigns, and so he made a character as uninteresting as possible so that wouldn't happen again. I don't even think he was badly written or badly played or anything. Like, I think Liam played that character well. He was just boring. Orym was a boring character to me. Also, going back to the pacing issue, if you were actually like keeping up with the show every week, it felt really slow because there were way more breaks than usual and way more gaps between episodes than previous campaigns. Which is not entirely on the Critical Role team, like there was some shit that happened outside of their control in some cases. But there's one moment in particular that happens right after what was probably the saddest moment of the entire campaign, and right before Bell's Hells were about to go back to Exandria after being on the moon for so long. So everybody tuning in was very, very keen to see what happened next, but then it's like, surprise, we're doing Exandria Unlimited again! There's one character here you care about and 4 others you've never heard of. Abria's DMing style just really isn't for me. There's just way too much time spent talking about our feelings. So many times where she asks the players to explain what they're thinking in this moment, or Abria will just assert to the players what their characters are feeling in that moment, even if that's not accurate to what the player was thinking. And it just makes it drag. What's that? You don't like Abria's DMing style? Well, too bad. We snuck it in halfway through a normal episode, so you'd have to watch it. Episode 92 and 93 are the 2 worst episodes of the show in the entire 10 years they've been doing it. And it's not even remotely close. This shit was fucking agonizingly slow to sit through. It's one combat. It's one combat. And it takes this long to get through. And it's very obvious that Abria has a very certain way she wants this to go. Part of this isn't even her fault, by the way. Part of this is like, we needed to force things to go a certain way to justify Dorian leaving. But it's like, why did we run the combat then? If you needed a certain thing to happen, why did you even run you didn't need to run a combat for it. You could have just done a cutscene, and it could have been over and done with. Also, I want to ask you guys a question. Doesn't matter if you've played a TTRPG before or not. How would you feel if you looked through your spell sheet, you made a tactical decision to use a specific spell based on the description of what it said it did, and then after you've cast the spell already, the DM just decides that the single target spell you just cast is actually magically an area of effect spell, somehow, and the sole reason the DM decides to do that is to force you to kill your character's own brother. Because that's what Abria does to Robbie in this scene. Now, I'm not saying you should be held prisoner to the rules as written. I think as a DM, you're allowed to take certain situations and say, well, actually, I think this makes more sense. I'm going to do it like this. And sometimes this might be to the player's benefit. Sometimes it might be to their detriment. And I think you should be allowed to do that as a DM. But not like this. This was just such a momentum killer, right when people were like most eager to see what would happen next. And then on top of the bad timing, you also saddled Abria with the task of pushing Dorian back towards Bell's Hells, which was inevitably going to lead to railroading, and it's like you kind of set her up to fail in a way. By the way, just to be crystal clear, there are people who I think are really great people, they're really nice, I'm very good friends with them, but I never want them to DM a D&D session for me ever again. Being a decent person and being a decent dungeon master have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Also, Abria's DMing introduced me and Brennan to the idea of showing the players something their characters don't see for dramatic effect. I actually think this is very cool, and I do use it sometimes.
I don't hear that?
You don't.
But anyway, these are all kind of ancillary things to my 2 biggest issues with Campaign 3. The first off being that there's this conversation that the characters have about whether or not killing the gods is the right thing to do, and whether or not this god-eating entity, Predathos, could also pose a threat to humanity if Ludinus releases it. They have the exact same fucking conversation so many times, it's fucking ridiculous, and every single time it's like it may as well be a broken record of the last time they had the conversation. They'll get a very small amount of new information and then have the entire fucking discussion again, and the new information really doesn't change any of the characters' perspectives from the previous time they had this discussion. None of the characters, aside from FCG, have any connection to religion whatsoever at all. And then, after all this discussion, we end up getting introduced to this magical option C that gives you the best of both worlds. Where instead of Predathos killing the gods, we will now buy them time to run away and find a new place to go, I guess. And then this whole like worry about like, what if Predathos kills humanity as well? is like repeatedly quelled in a way that kind of robs it of the risk factor. When Imogen merges with Predathos briefly, she learns that Predathos can't even see humanity. Like, humanity doesn't even register in its vision. Only divinity does. Which just seems kind of like convenient, like really convenient, you know what I mean? And then the party suggests this idea that, well, because Predathos can't see mortals, what if the gods give up their divinity and become mortal, like they've done so in the past? And then Imogen proceeds to convince every single god, even the evil ones, to just go along with this plan that they just heard for the first time because of a single nat 20. I don't remember that well, and I really don't want to go re-scouring through these episodes to find out, but I swear there was an implication here that they're going to get their powers back at some point. Maybe not 100%, but to some extent, yeah, they're going to get their powers back. And I'm just like, where the fuck are their powers coming from? They just gave up their divinity. Where is it coming from then? If the idea here is that they're still immortal in some way, or that they're gonna get their divinity back somehow, and it's like all they had to do to completely erase the threat of Predathos was just give up their divinity for just a little bit, just until Predathos went away. Like, that's fucking lame. That's literally a perfect victory with zero downside and zero consequences. And why wouldn't Predathos just come back if it senses them again? They've made it pretty clear this thing will fucking chase them down to the end of time because that's how hungry it is. But then if it's not that, well then essentially Imogen just convinced all of the gods to kill themselves. Lamau. These are eternal beings. The length of a single mortal creature's lifespan is like nothing to them. So how is this outcome any different from just letting Predathos eat them? They're still going to be permadead. There's just a slight delay of between 40 to 80 years before that happens. Maybe 900 if they're lucky enough to be reincarnated as a fucking elf. I just think it's completely unbelievable that all of the gods chose to kill themselves as opposed to just running away and trying to find some other domain to rule over. But even if the gods do make this massive sacrifice, we find out that there was literally zero impact or consequences on the rest of Exandria because it's very explicitly stated magic, specifically religion-based magic, still just works somehow perfectly fine with absolutely no change whatsoever. What is this, like some the power was inside you the whole time bullshit? Like, really? Like, either divinity is gone and Predathos fucked off, or divinity isn't gone and Predathos would be there and he would eat everyone. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. There was an opportunity here to do something cool. You're not going to touch Exandria again for the main campaigns. You're moving on from that. You would have known this at this point. You could have left the world in some kind of meaningfully altered state. And if you did want to keep using Vox Machina and the Mighty Nine for like one-shots and special events and stuff, I don't know, you could say like magic's been changed and the level of arcana in the world has gone down and you could have like reset all their characters to level 3 or something. I don't know, there's shit you could have done. Because what it feels like it is that you had the opportunity to pull a Toy Story 3 and you pulled a Toy Story 4 instead. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I still enjoyed the campaign. Like, I still had a good time. I think most people can agree Campaign 3 is objectively the weakest of the 3 campaigns. We're not going to get a Bell's Hells animated series. Like, it didn't reach the same level as the previous 2. And this show did absolutely have its golden moments, even in the serious side of things. Like Esteros and what happened to him was a pretty big one that comes to mind. And I also think the final line spoken by Matt at the end of Campaign 3 was a really, really nice throwback to the final line of Campaign 1. Honestly, I'm glad Matt's getting a bit of a break from DMing now, because fucking oath he deserves it. And I think Brendan Lee Mulligan was a very wise choice for Matt's replacement. I don't think the community would have accepted literally anybody else. Exandria Calamity still takes the cake for me as the best couple of D&D sessions I've ever seen in my life. And I'm very intrigued to see what he does with Campaign 4. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time, and is it Friday yet? Because Critical Role airs on a Friday in Australia. You get it? It's Friday instead of Thursday. Yeah.
Who bestowed it on you?
Are you familiar with Vasselheim?
Oh, you're not going to answer my question.
I'm so sorry.
Who bestowed it on you?
I don't know if you would...
That is... What even the fuck?
Oh, no.
I mean, we knew that already.
Jeez.